Welcome to REGIP, the Regional Integration Platform. My name is Maurice Odhiambo and my technical manager is Arnold Masinde. Today's program is titled Civil Society in East Africa, COVID-19 and the Civic Space. Today we ask the question, to what extent has COVID-19 contributed to further shrinking of civic space in East Africa? That is the question for today's program. Now, civic space simply means the totality of the factors within the environment in which the civil society operates. There are several factors that can inhibit the work of civil society, but there are also other factors that are enabling for civil society. This could be legal, this could be administrative, this could be regulatory, they could be political, they could be factors to do with the economy, they could be social factors, and so on and so forth. These are the factors that we are interrogating as we look at the civic space in East Africa and COVID-19. Now, in 2017, the Kenya chapter of the East African Civil Society Organizations Forum, that is EACSOF, convened the first ever regional meeting to discuss questions of civic space within the East African community, basically looking at what is happening in the six countries, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, South Sudan, Burundi, and Rwanda. And the idea here was to kickstart a regional campaign that then would end up with the enactment by the East African the East African Legislative Assembly of a model CSO law to harmonize standards within the East African community. The worries then were that in various countries we had very restrictive legislation for civil society, which made it very, very difficult for organizations to operate. Now, in 2019 November, there was a follow-up regional meeting which was convened by the regional office of the East African Civil Society Organizations Forum. And this meeting now had representation beyond the six East African community partner states. We had civil society organizations from DRC, civil society organizations from West Africa, and so on and so forth. And the idea was to then apart from just regionalizing the debate, then make sure that this debate begins to take on a continental perspective. Now, threats to civic space have always existed, and this is you don't need more evidence. The fact that organizations are meeting to deliberate on how to work on improving the civic space means that there are certain challenges that have been witnessed. Now, even before COVID-19, as we have seen, there were already problems. If you remember our Burundi discussion, where we actually talked about organizations being banned from the year 2015 coming forward. And we've seen that throughout the East African community, different countries handle civil society organizations in very different ways. And we know that some of the things that have happened, for example, banning of civil society organizations, like it happened in Burundi, banning of media, which has become prevalent in Tanzania, and in Kenya here, we've had our own problems. The Public Benefits Organizations Act of 2013 has never been implemented. This is the law that was supposed to improve the civic space for civil society organizations in this country. Now, what has COVID-19 done? It has simply made a very bad situation worse. And we continue to see that from very early on, when countries started to put in measures to control the spread of COVID-19, we saw a lot of police brutality, for example, because in many countries, it is the police who are in charge of implementing the measures that were put in place. We saw many things apart from brutality. We even saw deaths in Kenya, for example. By the end of June, just a period of about 2.5 months, 15 people had been killed. In Uganda, for example, the police reportedly killed 2 civilians in May for violating COVID-19 restrictions. And that is not all the statistics that we have. In Nigeria, the Human Rights Commission put the figure at 18. Now, in South Africa, there are also many cases of brutality, including in family situations. And the death of Collins Koza really trended the whole world because it signified the brutal face of the police in controlling COVID-19. Now, for us at Kumekucha, we know that there was a webinar organized recently by the IACS of Kenya, which we have spoken about, and this was extremely important in collectivizing civil society responses to shrinking civic space. And now there's a communique that is ready that is going to urge the East African Community partner states to act in accordance with the East African Treaty, which requires adherence to universally accepted principles of good governance, democracy, the rule of law, observance of human rights, and social justice. And this is what we expect will be happening as we move forward in the coming weeks. The civil society through IACSOF and the IACS of Kenya will be at the forefront of lobbying for certain measures to be put in place to respect the human rights, not only of organizations to be able to operate, but also the human rights of the totality of the people of East Africa, even as we continue with measures to control COVID-19. And so we come to the end of today's program, and we leave you with a question. To what extent has COVID-19 contributed to further shrinking of civic space in the East African community? Thank you.